Okay, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and as always, most importantly, please make sure you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. You'll never miss a notification. All that YouTube nonsense will have gone out the window. Oh, they've unsubscribed me. Trust me, if you're following me on Telegram, like my man Papa Onaya Shelley, you will get that notification every time I drop a video and every time I go live. All right. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. So with the introduction out of the way, let's get the show started and let's get the news flowing, right? So we have to talk about the state of my residence, right, where I reside in California. We got to talk about California because we are going broke behind homelessness and illegal immigration and funding all of this madness that our local government body doesn't really care to solve and settle. And they don't really care to solve and settle any of these matters because what it looks like to me is that all these billions and billions of dollars that go into funding homelessness and allegedly fighting homelessness, and as we're going to get into a little bit too, concerning having illegal immigrants be able to get covered uh, under healthcare here for free. Like I said, billions of dollars is going to waste and is unaccounted for, right? So what I want to do is that I want to take a moment to start here. Let's start here. This is something that we've spoken about quite a few times, but I just want to go into a little bit more detail concerning this. Look at this nonsense here, and I want to play a video to go along with it. Uh, Gavin Newsom in 2022. California will be the first state to offer universal health care to illegal immigrants. A small price to pay for $3 billion. $3 billion isn't a small price. It's not a small price at all whatsoever. That's a large price to pay. But since then, he's gone well over budget, right? And now taking out numerous multi-billion dollar loans to cover the fact that, he's going well over budget. Look, Gavin Newsom last week, okay, I'm going to need $3.4 billion. Gavin Newsom yesterday, okay, I'm going to need $2.8 billion, right? So at this point, we're well over $8 billion in what was supposed to only be a $3 billion increase, right? And just so you guys know, and as you're looking at the title of the video and the title and the thumbnail, compared to what we're talking about in a moment, so you know that it's not clickbait. In between this 8.4 billion, to fund healthcare for illegal aliens, and this $24 billion to fight homelessness, which has essentially just poof gone up in smoke. This is the real story right here. It's $24 billion. That brings us to about $32 billion that we just don't really know what's going on. We don't really know what's going on. But the real story of this stream is this $24 billion. This is crazy. This is diabolical. Between 2019 and 2024, $24 billion has gone up in smoke trying to fight homelessness, allegedly fighting homelessness. But before we get into that, let's get into this here, right? Let's get into some of this foolishness with Gavin Newsom. Just endlessly needing to borrow more money, and more money to fund free healthcare, universal healthcare for illegal immigrants in California. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to take this down and I'm going to pull up this video here. Please smash that like button if you haven't already.
Newsom says the state short on funds for its Medicaid program known as Medi-Cal. The state expanded the program to cover undocumented immigrants. The governor asked lawmakers to approve another $2.8 billion in loans on top of a $3.4 billion loan issued last week. So California now making up a $6.2 billion shortfall in Medi-Cal funds. The money meant to keep the program properly funded through June.
The realities are the realities. You have to balance budgets. We balance our budget. Revenues holding up. I don't see anything.
He said the realities are real. Basically, it is what it is. Cry harder. You're just going to vote in another Democrat for governor anyways. You're probably going to vote in Kamala Harris, who's weighing in on whether or not she's going to run for governor of California. Oh my God, that's crazy. You're just going to vote for her anyways. So the realities are the realities. It is what it is, suckers. That's basically what he's saying. He's giving off that Brandon Johnson energy out of Chicago, where you just kind of shrug your shoulders, cry harder, whatever.
The money meant to keep the program properly funded through June.
The realities are the realities. You have to balance budgets. We balance our budget. Revenue is holding up. I don't see anything significant along the lines of what some have asserted. But I do see the need to make adjustments and changes broadly in the Medicaid system.
Meantime, Republicans blaming Democrats for creating financial insecurity with the Medi-Cal program. They say undocumented people should not be covered.
Look at this here. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. California to spend $8.4 billion this year on health care for illegal aliens. Let's go through this very quickly. This is crazy. You know, what was supposed to be a $3 billion increase turned into ballooned into $8 billion. But according to Gavin Newsom, it is what it is. The realities are the realities. So what, right? So what? According to California Department of Finance, the state of California will spend more than $8.4 billion on taxpayer-funded Medicaid health benefits for illegal aliens this year, over $5 billion more than initially estimated. Last year, California became the first state to offer free taxpayer-funded health care through Medicaid to all illegal aliens in the state. This expansion is proving far costlier than originally projected and is already straining the Medi-Cal program that vulnerable Californians rely on for health care. At a recent California State Assembly Budget Committee hearing, California state budget officials revealed how much the state of California is actually spending to provide health care to illegal aliens. I want to focus on the last sentence of the second paragraph, right, for a second. This expansion is proving far costlier than originally projected and is already straining the Medi-Cal program that vulnerable Californians rely on for health care. Aren't those the people that Democrats claim that they care the most about? Don't they love talking about vulnerable communities and disproportionately disadvantaged communities? They love talking about that, right? But yet, as you can see here in the state of California, their inability to properly fund, their free healthcare for illegal immigrants, and their need to consistently, Their need to consistently borrow more money. It's coming at the cost of hurting vulnerable Californians. And it goes to show where their priorities lie and who they really care about the most, right? And who they're worried about and concerned about taking care of the most. Why is that? Once again, as I've spoken on so many times over and over again, concerning the decline in population in California, as well as the decline in population in places like New York and Illinois and other blue states, they need the influx of illegal immigrants to stabilize the number of residents that are leaving these states. Because as more people leave these states, that then reflects negatively on the census, to which then that drops the number of delegates that are representing that state in the House of Representatives. So illegal immigration is needed to stabilize the population loss that's happening. That's why they go out of their way to take care of these folks the way that they do, even at the expense of you, the citizen, because they're trying to hold on to as many house seats as they can. Because as many of you know, we've talked about it so much already. If you're subscribed to the channel, obviously you know this stuff already. Illegal immigrants are counted on the U.S. Census. They are considered part of the state population. And the size of your state population will determine how many delegates represent you in the House of Representatives. So if you're ever scratching your head as to why are they doing this? Why do they prioritize illegal immigrants over citizens so much? Now you know. Now you know, okay? But look at this here. Lord have mercy. Like I said, this is where the real story lies. All right? This is where the real story lies. We got a lot of reading ahead of us with this one. It's not really a lot. It's not a lot, but in YouTube land, I guess, if you're like watching somebody stream or whatever, this would be considered a lot of reading, but in real life, this isn't a lot of reading at all. But I really want to go through the details of this $24 billion that's essentially has gone up in smoke that was supposed to fight homelessness, right? Despite California spending $24 billion on it since 2019, homelessness increased. What happened? Well, let's get into what happened, right? And spoiler alert, nobody knows what happened because nobody knows where the money went, right? So let's get into it right now. Please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and follow me on Telegram as we get into this article right here, because what we're going to read here is completely unacceptable and ridiculous. Since 2019, California has spent about $24 billion on homelessness. But in this 5-year period, homelessness increased by about 30,000 to more than 181,000. Put differently, California spent the equivalent of about $160,000 per person based on a 2019 figure over the last 5 years. With this level of spending, it was reasonable to expect that homelessness would decline substantially. What went wrong? Well, here goes what went wrong. There are 3 major problems with California's homelessness policies that are facilitating this increase. One problem is a significant lack of oversight and information about homelessness spending. I'm going to repeat that again. One problem is a significant lack of oversight and information about homelessness spending. The state auditor recently evaluated this spending and submitted a report that highlights the failure of the state to track spending and outcomes. The state lacks current information on the ongoing cost and outcome of its homelessness program because it has not consistently tracked and evaluated the state's efforts to prevent and end homelessness. The state also not aligned its action plan to end homelessness. Let me read that again. The state has also not aligned its action plan to end homelessness with its statutory goals to collect financial information and ensure accountability and results. Thus, it lacks assurance that the actions it takes will effectively enable it to achieve those goals. The auditor attempted to closely evaluate the cost and benefits for 5 separate homelessness programs, though they only found data that permitted this for 2 of those programs. More broadly, the failure of investing in adequate information technology infrastructure and data collection within California state government has been a chronic problem and has been very costly. What I'm getting ready to read to you right now is completely absurd. Listen to this here. In 2020, California's antiquated hardware and software within the Employment Development Department, EDD, was a key factor in about $32 billion in unemployment benefits fraud. The department's computer system is based on 1980s architecture running 1950s software. Unbelievable. And the EDD not only was overrun with fraudulent claims, it delayed legitimate payments for months. The former deputy director of unemployment insurance described EDD's ability to deal with the high number of COVID claims as follows. The best way I can describe it is like going to a gunfight with a squirt gun. I mean, the fraud is unbelievable that happens here in California. It is unbelievable. What else do we have here? California Department of Motor Vehicles is in the process of upgrading its system. The DMV in LA is trash, but I think that that's universally the case everywhere. I think the DMV, every DMV across America is trash. I've never heard anybody, you know, have a good time at the DMV anywhere in any state in America. So I guess that goes without saying, but let's keep going. California's Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, is in the process of upgrading its system, but this follows a series of tech upgrade failures over the previous 30 years that burned through hundreds of millions of dollars in the process. And the state's annual report on its fiscal soundness is chronically late because of an IT upgrade that began in 2005. What? Let's read that again. And the state's annual report on its fiscal soundness is chronically late because of an IT upgrade that began in 2005. So in California, we've been working on an IT upgrade in our DMVs since 2005. And you know somebody's getting paid for this, right? Or a couple people are getting paid for this, right? You've been working on an IT upgrade since 2005, and somebody's probably still getting paid. Yeah, that upgrade is coming. Don't worry. What's going on? This is insanity. Let's keep going. This is crazy. A second key problem with California homelessness policy, one that is rarely, if ever, discussed, is that there are too many California households who simply do not earn enough to live sensibly in California, given the state's very high cost of living. Well, I can definitely tell you about that. Cost of living here is atrocious and wildly disrespectful. For example, nearly half of California households rent. And this group, about 30%, about 1.9 million households, pay 50% more of their pre-tax income as rent. This is far too high based on the standard recommendation that a household pay a maximum of 30% of pre-tax income as rent. Let's scroll down just a little bit more, see if there's anything more that they're unveiling about the homelessness concerning the fraud. This group of people are considered blah, 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 extremely rent burden. So we're still here about how, cost of living is too high. And it's not just this group financially vulnerable. About 1/3 of California households live in poverty or near poverty. Interesting. This suggests the possibility of many more people falling into homelessness each year. So now I guess they're getting into all the examples of why so many people are homeless in California. But the main purpose of this article that I wanted to read off is what we highlighted in the beginning, right? Is that it's well known within our local governing body here in California. It's well known. We know that we have not tracked this $24 billion. They know this and understand it. The California auditor, he laid it out. We don't know where the money is. Why don't you know where the money is? And why don't you know what's going on with it? Well, because we're not tracking it properly. They just admitted it. And everybody just kind of shrugs their shoulders, it is what it is. What did Gavin Newsom say? It is what it is. The realities are what the realities are. They'll just vote for another Democrat anyways. Now, look at this here. It appears that we do have Papa Onaya Shelley, shout out to you, our favorite word. We have another investigation coming underway. And I don't want to demean and downplay investigations and stuff like that, because obviously investigations are needed. Obviously, you just can't, charge people and do stuff like that without investigations. But I want to get into what's going on with that right now too, because as we bring things off to a close, right? Because this isn't going to be too long of a stream. But let's look at this here. Let's take a look at this video here. I believe it's from Fox, but not Fox News. It's the local news outlet Fox here. Let's check this out.
A federal task force has been formed to investigate possible fraud and corruption involving homelessness funds across Southern California. It's being led by the brand new U.S. Attorney, Bill Asaley. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf spoke to Asaley today. He's live for us in downtown L.A. Matthew.
Well, Alex, a lot of people wonder about all of that money and if it's being spent the way it's supposed to be. Well, we could have some answers here pretty soon. The most visible crisis across California, now the target of a federal investigation.
We will investigate and look at the facts and determine whether any laws were broken.
Newly sworn in U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley announcing what he calls a homelessness fraud and corruption task force, looking into billions of dollars of homeless funding spent across Southern California and possible fraud, abuse, and corruption.
Despite all the money spent and the audits conducted, there's billions of dollars unaccounted for. Local and state officials cannot give us answers.
A recent independent audit found that LA officials could not accurately track down about $2.3 billion in spending for homeless services.
So one more quick question.
As a result, last week, LA County voted to stop funding LAHSA, leading to the resignation of CEO Dr. Valisa Adams-Kellum.
Oh, she retired. They cut the money off and she said, okay, well, looks like I got to go. I'm going to head out. Really interesting. I don't know much about this woman, but I'm willing to bet you that while the getting was good and the money was flowing, I'm willing to bet you that she used to give all these BS spiels about how she cares about fighting homelessness and we have to do something about the homelessness problem here in California and particularly in Los Angeles, and this is my life's work and I'm so passionate about this. But when they cut the money off, she said, see ya, I'm out of here. I gotta go. You guys cut the money off. There's no need for me to stick around and try to fix the homelessness issue here in California anymore. Peace out. Very interesting. It just goes to show you that when these folks, they talk about all this, it's actually really unfortunate and it's really sad and upsetting how Democrats have sullied the idea of equality, equity, fairness, all things like that you used to hear years ago and you could get with it and go, yeah, this isn't right. There needs to be a little bit more equality here and there and years ago you'd hear these terms and you'd hear this stuff and you can get with it. You go, okay, yeah, I like that. Nowadays, you hear these terms, vulnerable people, vulnerable communities, disadvantaged this, disproportionately disadvantaged that, equity, equality. You hear the stuff now, and it just turns you off. Because every time you pull back the curtain, it's stuff like this. It's stuff like this, right? Where it all just turns into a money grab. And you see this stuff consistent with them blue states. Listen, man, if the DNC, if Democrats were who they said they were, then California would be a paradise. But it's not. It's a junkyard. I live here. Right? It's a complete junkyard. It's not a paradise. It's only paradise for those who can afford it, which is a very, 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 very small minority who can afford it. And even for them, it's only paradise to a degree. It's only paradise in their little enclosed bubble, depending on the neighborhood or community that they live in. Because none of them are that far away from the foolishness and the trash that is Los Angeles. They're not that far away. When you live in Beverly Hills, you're not that far away. You're not that cut off from the ridiculousness of Los Angeles. You're not that far at all. Everybody's relatively close to one another for the most part, It's crazy, man. But let's get back into this here.
Quick question.
As a result, last week, LA County voted to stop funding LAHSA, leading to the resignation of CEO Dr. Valisa Adams-Kellum. How does $2 billion just go missing?
It doesn't, and we're going to find out where it is. The number of homeless on the streets is increasing with every dollar we spend.
Santa Monica business owner John Alley supports the new task force.
It's hidden money and it's paybacks. I believe people will end up in jail.
Along with LA County, the task.
Do you believe him? do you believe that people are going to end up in jail? Do you think that this is going to result in people actually getting indicted and charged and going to jail? That's the question that I have for you guys. And I think that's the question that really needs to be answered. Do you think that that's what this is all actually going to lead to? And are we going to see this happening to some degree nationwide across the country? Winky said, no, it's not.
It's hidden money and it's paybacks. I believe people will end up in jail.
Along with LA County, the task force will investigate Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. There are about 75,000 homeless people in LA County compared to about 20,000 in the others combined.
We're going to have the best prosecutors, the best agents on this.
LA Mayor Karen Bass responding, telling Fox 11, our focus is on outcomes and saving lives. Last year, Los Angeles bucked national increases with a 10% decrease in street homelessness.
When you look into all that stuff, when you look into it deeper, it's all lies and it's all nonsense. There's this book that I read once, and I got to reread it again. It wasn't a large book. I believe it was called How to Lie with Statistics, if I remember correctly. I believe it was called How to Lie with Statistics. I got to go back and reread that book again so I can use that as a reference. You know, when I start hearing stuff like this and seeing stuff like this, these people lie with statistics. They lie so much, man. And you know, I can't stand when they pull out these just kind of phantom victories out the air, saying, oh, you know, in the face of all of this in Los Angeles, you know, technically we were able to fudge the numbers, so homelessness did decrease by 10%. These people are lying. I live here. There's nothing. I live in Los Angeles. Nothing is changing. It's homelessness has increased and increased and increased and increased and increased and increased and increased. Nothing has changed. It gets worse year after year after year after year.
Bucked national increases with a 10% decrease in street homelessness. A spokesperson from California Governor Gavin Newsom's office says we share the federal administration's goal of ensuring taxpayer funds are being used effectively to get people off our streets.
He's a liar, but I don't know if you guys know this or not. Gavin Newsom, he's failing at this, but he's trying to go moderate. He's trying to present himself as a moderate. Now, I don't know how, of all people, how Gavin Newsom thinks he's going to pull that off. But that's why he's saying we share the federal administration's goal of ensuring taxpayer funds are being used effectively to get people off the streets. He's trying to pretend to be as if he's trying to pretend to be some sort of moderate all of a sudden now, which he isn't.
Effectively to get people off our streets.
It's a humanitarian crisis. It's a public trust crisis. And and I think we deserve answers.
He says he's going to use any and all tools, including search warrants. It sounds like all this is going to start very soon. Reporting live tonight, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
Yeah, Matthew, regular viewers of our show may recognize Bill Asaley. He was just in the assembly with the Republicans, where he made news a lot, but didn't have almost any power. He was part of the super minority. Now President Trump has appointed him, and he's got some real power now.
Yeah, definitely. We were actually asking him today about his relationship with President Trump. He said he met him when President Trump was here to look at the fires. Actually, President Trump asked for his business card. So it sounds like they're definitely trying to start some sort of working relationship right now.
Yeah, he's been very pro-Trump, and I think the president likes that, and he certainly rewarded him with a very big job. All right, Matthew, thank you so much.
So that does it, man. I got the general sentiment of what you guys feel. You know, I see it in the live chat, but I'll ask you guys once again, you know, do you see anything coming out of this? Do you see any, right? I saw somebody put no one's significant, right? So I don't think that any of us have any real confidence that Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass is going to feel the sting of any type of indictment, which is what we all really want to see, right? What Biden did to, what's my man's name? What he did to Eric Adams, you know, is really what all these other governors and mayors actually deserve, right? Because Eric Adams got hit with a raw deal. Eric Adams got slapped with a BS indictment and nonsense charges just for simply speaking out, against the Biden administration. When you look at these folks here like Brandon Johnson and Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom and all that, you have a serious case possibly for waste, fraud, and abuse and mismanagement, where these people actually really do need to get looked into. So we'll see how this all plays out. I'm hoping that something comes about of this investigation. I'm hoping that somebody gets indicted, somebody gets arrested, somebody goes to jail. To the degree that it does happen, whether or not it'll be someone of significance is yet to be seen. But I don't know, man. At the end of the day, and I want to close with this, right? I do want to close with this at the end of the day. All of this stuff still ultimately relies on those who reside here. Like myself, I live in LA. If you live in California, if you don't live in Los Angeles, but you live just anywhere in California, if you're just going to keep voting these DNC lunatics into office, then you could expect nothing to change. It's just going to carry on. It's going to keep going on the way it's been going on, right? People have to choose different options and make a change in who they want to put in office. If you want to see a genuine change, you could only lock up so many people. There could be a whole big sweep here, with this federal investigation, and they end up locking up a whole bunch of people. That would be great. But if you're just going to put DNC lunatics back into position again, you're going to get more of the same thing. And I'll end with this: for anybody and everybody who lives in a blue state and blue city like me, if you think it can't get any worse, always look at Chicago. Always look at the People's Republic of Chicago with Emperor Brandon Johnson. Oh, I know when they got rid of Lori Lightfoot, they thought it can't possibly get worse than this. Surprise, it got significantly worse. It can get significantly worse. I'm just hoping that, coming off this past election, especially here in California, where so many counties flipped red, a lot of counties flipped red. Hopefully, in the next gubernatorial race, the entire state can flip, and we can really get down to the bottom of what's going on with this waste, fraud, and abuse and this management of money, and put resources towards the areas that they need to be in, right? But it's yet to be seen. We'll just have to wait and see. And with all that being said, that does it for today's stream. So thank you guys for joining me today. If you're watching me on X, shout out to those of you who are watching me on X. Please repost this, retweet this, re-X this, right? So that others can see this. To those of you who are watching me on YouTube and Rumble, please hit the like button and subscribe. And most importantly, Telegram. I'm always begging you guys, please follow me on Telegram. That's extremely important, that we will never miss a notification. Link to my Telegram in the description box below, and it'll be pinned in the comment section as well. Shout out to my man Saul. I appreciate you for always showing love, bro. He said, I bet it took ages for TD to read that book. No, it didn't take me too long. It didn't take me too long. You saw as I was going through the one article, I'm reading through it. I'm like, all right, I'm about tired of reading this. This is going beyond the point at this point. So let's just move on to the next video that I have queued up here. Now, it didn't take me too long to read that. I'm definitely going to reread it though. It's like I said, once again, I believe it's called How to Lie with Statistics. How to Lie with Statistics. I gotta check that out again. And shout out to College of Natural Health Science, BDA, who's in California. Be logic. Educate yourself. Exactly. You gotta be logic and educate yourself before you talk to me. You gotta do it. And for those of you who don't know, College of Natural Health Science, BDA, remembers every single sound bite that I have on my soundboard that many of you don't even know about, because College of Natural Health Science BDA is a true supporter that follows me across multiple YouTube channels that you guys don't even know exist. So just for you, I've never played this soundbite on this channel, but just for you, College of Natural Health and Science BDA, I'm going to play it. I can't guarantee you I'm going to play it again in the future on this channel, but I'll play it for you right now.
Be logic, be like educated yourself, please, before talk to me, okay?
You guys have a great one, man. I'll catch you guys later. Have a safe afternoon and a good afternoon. Peace.